Imagine standing on a mountaintop where the clouds swirl beneath your feet, where red lanterns glow against thousand-year-old temples, and where ancient legends whisper through misty bamboo forests. China is not just a country, it's a world of its own. A civilization so vast and layered that even if you traveled here for a lifetime, you would only scratch the surface of its wonders. When most people hear China, they immediately picture the Great Wall or the bustling streets of Beijing. But what if I told you that China hides rainbow-colored mountains, villages carved directly into cliffs, floating pillars that inspired the world of Avatar, and caves filled with glowing Buddha statues that seem to belong in another dimension? Today, we're going on a journey deep into the heart of China, beyond the tourist postcards, beyond what you think you know. By the end, you'll see China not just as a destination, but as a living, breathing story stretching back thousands of years. Fun facts about China. Before we dive into the breathtaking destinations, let me share some mind-blowing facts about China that will completely change how you see this country. Fact number 1, China has its own Grand Canyon, and it's deeper than America's. Most people know the Grand Canyon, but fewer realize that China's Yarlung-Tsangpa Canyon in Tibet is the deepest canyon on Earth, plunging nearly 20,000 feet. That's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Fact number 2, China invented ice cream thousands of years ago. That creamy scoop of vanilla you love? You can thank ancient Chinese cooks. Over 4,000 years ago, they mixed milk, rice, and snow to create the world's first version of ice cream. Fact number 3, the Great Wall isn't just one wall. Instead of a single continuous wall, it's actually thousands of separate walls and fortifications built over centuries, stretching across deserts, mountains, and grasslands. If combined, its length would circle the Earth more than once. Fact number 4, China has the world's largest high-speed rail network. In a country this vast, distance becomes an art form. But China has solved it with over 26,000 miles of bullet trains that connect major cities at speeds up to 217 mph, making travel here feel like stepping into the future. Fact number 5, there's a river that literally turns red. In parts of Shaanxi province, due to unusual mineral deposits and algae blooms, rivers occasionally shimmer a blood-red color, making the landscape look like something out of a science fiction film. Fact number 6, China holds a cave with its own weather system. Yes, you heard that right. In Guizhou province, the Xiaozhai-Tianqing sinkhole is so massive it creates its own clouds, fog, and rainfall inside, like a mini hidden world trapped underground. So if you thought China was just pandas, kung fu, and ancient palaces, buckle up, because what you're about to see will change everything. Place 1. Zhangye Danxia Rainbow Mountains, nature's painted canvas. If I told you there was a place on earth where the mountains look like they've been painted by the brush of a giant artist, you'd probably think it was Photoshop. But in China, it's real. So real that when travelers first see it, they often blink twice just to make sure their eyes aren't playing tricks on them. Welcome to the Zhangye Danxia National Geological Park, better known as the Rainbow Mountains of China. Located in Gansu Province, on the edge of the Tibetan Plateau, this surreal landscape looks like something torn out of a dream. For miles and miles, the hills roll like waves in colors that defy logic: deep reds, bright oranges, soft blues, and even purples layered like a giant rainbow cake. But here's the kicker: this isn't paint, and it's not magic. It's the work of 24 million years of natural artistry. Sandstone and minerals layered over millennia, compressed by tectonic shifts, and slowly sculpted by wind and rain into this hypnotic pattern. The result? A landscape so bizarre and so rare, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site. The first time you climb up to one of the wooden viewing platforms at sunset, the mountains explode with color as the golden light deepens the reds and softens the blues. It feels like standing inside a painting that constantly changes with the light. Travelers often describe it as standing on another planet, Mars, if Mars had rainbows. And here's a little detail most people don't know. The local people used to call these mountains Xi Hongshan, which literally means colorful rainbow mountains. For centuries, they were hidden from the outside world, their beauty known only to local farmers and shepherds. It wasn't until recent decades that the world truly discovered them, and now they've become a symbol of China's hidden natural wonders. What makes them even more fascinating is how fragile they are. You can't just wander across them. Strict walkways are in place to protect the delicate formations. Geologists say these mountains are like an ancient book written in stone. Every stripe, every shade tells the story of Earth's history written over millions of years. To walk through Zhangye Danxia is to walk through time itself. Imagine showing this to someone who has never left their hometown. They'd swear it was CGI. But you and I know better. Sometimes, the most unbelievable beauty is found not in fantasy, but in the forgotten corners of our own planet. Place-to, Zhangjiajie, the Avatar Mountains. Now, picture yourself standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out at towering stone pillars that rise straight into the sky. Mist curls around their bases, giving them the illusion of floating islands. Sound familiar? That's because these formations directly inspired the Hallelujah Mountains in James Cameron's Avatar. This is Zhangjiajie National Forest Park in Yunnan Province, and once you've seen it, it never leaves your mind. Over 3,000 sandstone pillars, each hundreds of feet tall, stand like nature's skyscrapers. Some are so narrow that only a few trees can cling to the top, making them look like floating islands in a sea of mist. What's wild is that these formations were carved not by human hands, but by nature. Millions of years of erosion, wind, and water slowly sculpted the sandstone into these vertical towers. When you walk through Zhangjiajie, it's as if you've stepped inside a fantasy novel. It's no wonder Hollywood looked here for inspiration. And here's a heart-stopping detail. The park is also home to the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge. Imagine walking across the longest and highest glass-bottom bridge in the world, suspended over a canyon that drops nearly 1,000 feet below. Every step feels like walking on air or falling through it. When it first opened, visitors were so terrified that some dropped to their knees mid-walk. But the bravest who make it across say the view is unlike anything else. Forests stretching endlessly below, stone pillars rising like guardians, and clouds brushing against your feet. What makes Zhangjiajie even more special is its connection to Chinese folklore. Local legends say the pillars are the homes of mountain spirits, and if you listen carefully on a quiet morning, you might just hear the whispers of ancient guardians echoing through the mist. Standing there, looking at those impossible formations, you realize why Avatar chose this as its model. Zhangjiajie is proof that sometimes Earth outdoes even the most ambitious imaginations of filmmakers. Place 3. The Longmen Grottoes are a city of stone Buddhas. Picture yourself walking along the banks of the Yi River in Hunan province. At first glance, the cliffs seem ordinary, but as you get closer, your eyes adjust, and suddenly, the rock faces come alive. Carved directly into the limestone cliffs are over 100,000 statues of Buddha, some as tall as a 5-story building, others so small they could fit in the palm of your hand. This is the Longmen Grottoes, one of the most astonishing treasures of Chinese art and spirituality. Imagine standing there as the sun sets, the light catching the serene faces of hundreds of Buddhas, their expressions timeless, as if they've been silently watching the world for over 1,000 years. The story behind this wonder is equally mind-blowing. Carved during the Northern Wei and Tang dynasties, from around the 5th century onwards, this site wasn't built in a single burst of effort. It took centuries of devotion, artistry, and faith. Emperors, monks, and common people alike donated resources to create this stone masterpiece. Every carving is like a prayer frozen in time. But here's a surprising detail. The Longmen Grottoes are more than just statues. They're a library of history carved into stone. Inscriptions found here document everything from ancient religious practices to cultural exchanges along the Silk Road. They're like stone Wikipedia pages, telling us what life was like over 1,000 years ago. And unlike a museum, this art isn't behind glass. It's etched into the living rock, exposed to wind, rain, and time. You can stand face to face with a giant Buddha and see the chisel marks left by hands that held their tools over a millennium ago. There's something humbling about realizing that those artists never knew we'd still be gazing at their work today. For travelers, walking along these caves isn't just sightseeing. It feels like being in a silent cathedral where stone itself has become sacred. Place 4. The Yellow Mountains, Huangshan Sea of Clouds. If China had a painting for its soul, it would be the Huangshan Mountains, also known as the Yellow Mountains. You've probably seen them without even realizing it. Those jagged granite peaks rising above swirling seas of mist, immortalized in countless Chinese paintings, scrolls, and ink wash artworks. Huangshan is more than just a mountain range. It's a symbol of beauty in Chinese culture. Artists, poets, and philosophers for centuries have come here seeking inspiration. When you climb its stone steps, over 60,000 carved into the cliffs, you're literally following the footsteps of emperors and poets from ancient dynasties. The magic of Huangshan lies in what locals call the Sea of Clouds. Picture this. You're standing on a granite peak, and below you, endless clouds drift and swirl like waves in an ocean. Out of this white sea, sharp peaks rise like islands. The view changes constantly, as if nature itself is painting new landscapes for you every second. There are also the four wonders of Huangshan: the oddly shaped pines that cling stubbornly to cliffs, the hot springs that steam through the mountains, the dramatic rock formations with names like Flying Over Rock, and of course, the shifting Sea of Clouds. Each of these is a character in the living poem of Huangshan. One of the most photographed sites is the Welcome Guest Pine, a tree shaped like it's stretching out a hand to greet visitors. It has stood there for over 1,000 years, surviving storms, snow, and lightning strikes. A living guardian of the mountain. No wonder UNESCO called Huangshan an inspiration for art and literature. Standing there, you don't just see mountains. You see the landscape that gave birth to China's artistic soul. Place 5. The Reed Flute Cave, nature's underground palace. Beneath the surface of Guilin, a city already famous for its dramatic Karst mountains and rivers, lies a hidden world. Step into the Reed Flute Cave, and you'll find yourself inside what feels like a natural palace carved by time itself. The walls glitter with stalactites and stalagmites, illuminated by colorful lights that highlight their shapes. Some formations look like dragons, others like pagodas, and some like frozen waterfalls. It's as if nature itself was sculpting statues while no one was looking. The cave gets its name from the reeds that grow outside, ones used to make flutes by locals. But inside, the magic is pure geology. Scientists say the cave is over 180 million years old. Think about that. This cave was forming back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Ancient travelers knew about it too. In fact, poems and inscriptions left by people from the Tang dynasty over 1,200 years ago are still etched on the walls. Imagine wandering into this cave centuries ago with only a torch in hand and realizing you'd found an underground cathedral crafted by nature itself. Today, with modern lighting, the Reed Flute Cave feels almost otherworldly. It's like stepping into a fantasy film set, except it's all real, and it's been here since long before humans even dreamed of civilization. Place 6. Mogao Caves of Dunhuang, the Library of the Silk Road. In the vast Gobi Desert lies a place that feels almost impossible. Imagine traveling along the ancient Silk Road, a path of dust and danger, and suddenly stumbling upon cliffs filled with glowing caves, walls painted with stories, ceilings alive with colors, and thousands of Buddha watching silently. This is Dunhuang's Mogao Caves, one of the greatest cultural treasures on earth. Carved into the cliffs starting in the 4th century, the Mogao Caves are often called the Caves of the Thousand Buddha. Inside, you'll find over 2,000 painted sculptures and nearly 500,000 square feet of murals. That's the size of more than 8 football fields covered in paintings. But what makes them even more astonishing is their role as a time capsule of world history. For nearly 1,000 years, travelers, monks, and traders along the Silk Road left behind not just art, but manuscripts, thousands of scrolls, maps, and texts hidden away inside. Place 7. The Cursed Mountains of Guilin and Yangshuo, a landscape from a scroll. If you've ever seen a traditional Chinese ink painting with misty mountains rising like dragon's teeth from a river, chances are it was inspired by the landscapes of Guilin and Yangshuo. Here, the Li River winds like a silver ribbon between towering cursed peaks. Each mountain is unique, some sharp, some rounded, some leaning like frozen waves. At dawn, when the mist drifts between the peaks, the whole valley looks like a painting brought to life. A boat ride along the Li River is one of the most famous journeys in China. The 52-mile stretch between Guilin and Yangshuo is so iconic, it's printed on China's 20 yuan banknote. As you float past fishermen casting nets, water buffalo cooling themselves, and farmers working in rice paddies, you realize this isn't just scenery, it's a living painting. One of the most magical traditions here is the practice of cormorant fishing. For centuries, fishermen trained cormorant birds to dive into the river, catch fish, and return to their masters. At night, with lanterns glowing on bamboo rafts, the scene feels timeless, like a window into another era. It's no wonder poets and painters have celebrated Guilin for centuries. A local saying goes, Guilin's mountains and waters are the best under heaven. When you stand on one of the peaks, watching the sunrise spill gold across the cursed towers, you know exactly why. Place 8. The Potala Palace, Fortress in the Sky. High in Tibet, on a hill above the city of Lhasa, rises a structure so immense it looks like it was built by giants. This is the Potala Palace, once the winter home of the Dalai Lama, and one of the most awe-inspiring palaces in the world. From afar, it looks like a fortress of white and red walls rising straight from the mountain. But step closer, and you see it's actually a labyrinth of over 1,000 rooms, filled with golden chapels, ancient scriptures, and treasures of Tibetan culture. The palace was built in the 17th century, but its roots stretch back even further. It's said the first structure on this hill was built in the 7th century by King Songtsen Gampo as a gift to his bride. Over time, it grew into this staggering 13-story palace, standing 12,000 feet above sea level. What makes the Potala so moving isn't just its size, it's its symbolism. For centuries, it was the spiritual and political heart of Tibet, a place where faith, governance, and art were woven together. Inside, murals tell the story of Tibetan history, golden stupas hold the remains of past Dalai Lamas, and monks still chant prayers that echo through the halls. When the wind whips across the rooftop, carrying the flutter of prayer flags, you feel the presence of centuries of devotion. The Potala isn't just a building, it's a mountain of faith, standing strong against the sky. Place 9. The Stone Forest of Yunnan, Earth's Frozen Army. Travel to Yunnan province, and you'll find one of nature's strangest creations, a forest made not of trees, but of stone. The Guilin Stone Forest is a maze of towering limestone pillars, some reaching 100 feet tall, shaped like swords, animals, and even human figures. Walking through Guilin feels like wandering through a petrified army frozen mid-March. Narrow pathways twist between the stones, opening into hidden chambers and echoing caves. When the sun sets, shadows stretch across the sharp pinnacles, and the whole place feels alive, as if the rocks themselves might move. Local legends say this is where immortals once lived, and that the stones were once giants turned to rock. For the Yi people, an ethnic minority who call this land home, the stone forest is sacred. Every year, they celebrate the Torch Festival here with fire, music, and dance, bringing the forest to life with human energy. Geologists explain it as the result of 270 million years of erosion, where ancient limestone beds were sculpted by wind and water into this bizarre wonder. But standing there, surrounded by jagged spires, it's easy to believe the myths. After all, this isn't just geology, it's nature's imagination carved into stone. Place 10. Jiuzhaigou Valley, a fairy tale of water and color. Finally, let's travel to Sichuan province, where mountains hide a valley so magical it feels like it belongs in a fantasy novel. This is Jiuzhaigou, a UNESCO World Heritage Site famous for its waterfalls, snow-capped peaks, and lakes that shimmer in impossible colors. The name means Valley of Nine Villages, referring to the Tibetan villages nestled inside. But what truly takes your breath away are the lakes. Dozens of them, each a different shade of turquoise, emerald, or sapphire. Minerals in the water and ancient tree trunks lying beneath the surface create colors so vivid they look unreal. One of the most stunning sights is the Five-Flower Lake, where shades of blue, green, yellow, and turquoise swirl together like a painter's palette. Nearby, waterfalls tumble down in multiple tiers, especially the Nyorilang waterfall, one of the widest in China. In autumn, the valley explodes with red, orange, and gold leaves, making the water glow even brighter. Local Tibetan legends say Jiuzhaigou was created when a goddess dropped a magic mirror, which shattered into 108 sparkling lakes. Looking around, it's hard not to believe the story. It truly feels like the valley was made of broken jewels. For travelers, Jiuzhaigou is more than just a destination. It's a reminder of how delicate and precious nature is. After a major earthquake in 2017, parts of the valley were damaged, and it became clear how fragile this paradise really is. Visiting today feels like walking inside a rare dream you want to protect forever. And so, our journey comes to an end. From Rainbow Mountains to mist-shrouded pillars, glowing caves to frozen stone forests, palaces in the sky to valleys of jewel-colored lakes. The wonder of China isn't just in its size or its history. It's in the way its landscapes and cultures feel like chapters of a story far older than us. Each place isn't just a destination. It's a doorway into another world. For a traveler from the US or anywhere in the world, China offers more than sightseeing. It offers perspective. It shows you how landscapes shape legends, how people carve their beliefs into stone, and how beauty can survive for millions of years, waiting for us to finally notice. When you stand on the Great Wall, or float along the Li River, or stare into the eyes of a stone Buddha, you realize this isn't just a trip. It's a conversation with history, with nature, with something bigger than ourselves. So the next time you picture China, don't just think of crowded cities or ancient walls. Think of rainbow mountains. Think of palaces in the sky. Think of a country where every stone, every river, every cloud has a story to tell. Because China isn't just a place to visit, it's a wonder to experience.